Hi, I'm Leanne,
Hi, and I'm Jason,
and
and
this
this
is
is
Let's Talk.
Let's Talk.
I love that. So this is a space where no topic is off limits. We're going to discuss things from well-being and resilience to leadership and money, relationships and mindset, and so much more.
Thanks, Leanne. We also will bring different perspectives, real stories, honest conversations, because the things that we don't talk about that often end up being the things that really matter most.
So our goal is simple here. It's to spark new ideas, shift mindsets, and give you practical tools that you can use in your life and your leadership.
So, whether you're tuning in for inspiration, growth, or just a fresh perspective, let's talk. We have finally reached our first dimension of well being that we spoke about in episode 1, which aired last week. Today, our conversation will be on physical well being, fueling energy as your foundation. And we are so excited that we have an amazing guest expert that we're going to have an amazing conversation with. But before that, I'm going to turn it over to Leanne so that she can talk about the neuroscience behind physical well being.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Physical well-being is so important, and the neuroscience tells us that our brains consume more than 20% of our daily energy. How we fuel and move our bodies directly impacts our mental clarity and our decision making, and so much more. Our brain is incredibly energy intensive. It's hungry, it consumes resources. So even though it may make up only 2% of our overall body weight, it consumes more than 20% of our daily energy just to function. Now, this energy doesn't only go into our thinking capacity, it powers everything from regulating our emotions to making decisions, managing stress, and where we focus our attention and how well we can do that. The prefrontal cortex, this front part of our brain, I like to refer to it as our executive function. It allows us to make decisions. It allows us to understand information. It helps us to memorize things that we're learning. It helps us to inhibit those natural responses so we don't eat the Tim Tams when we don't want to. And it helps us to recall information that we may have learned at a previous time. All of our resources in our brain uses this, right? And it uses so much of this. So when we don't fuel our bodies well with things like poor nutrition, dehydration, and lack of sleep, the brain doesn't get what it needs. And basically, what we see from that is mental fog, slower reaction times, poor memory, and difficulty making good decisions. Essentially, your brain goes into kind of an energy saving mode. On the flip side, however, if we nourish our bodies well, if we move our bodies well with balanced meals and hydration and oxygen from physical activity, and we get proper rest, like proper rest is so important, our brain lights up. Neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which are the feel good chemicals that we all like, are regulated. It helps us to make good decisions. It sharpens our creativity. It improves our emotional resilience, and our ability to be able to bounce back increases. So, really important to fuel ourselves well. And this is why physical well-being is not just an option for mental clarity, it's the most important thing. It's the foundation. So, the food we eat, the movements that we do, the rest that you allow yourself to have directly determine how effective your brain will be at leading, at creating, at problem solving, and emotionally regulating. So, all of these things are super important. So, that's a bit of the neuroscience. And I just want to share a model that Tony Robbins actually uses. So, you might all know Tony Robbins, super coach, loud voice, tall man, big hands, jumps up and down on stages. He's a force to be reckoned with. But he's got a model called the triad. And it really is a model that he uses to manage our internal state, shall we say. And the triad has three main areas. The first is physiology, how we move our body. The second is focus, so what we focus our attention on. And the third is language, the stories that we tell ourselves. Now, physiology comes first in the triad. It is the foundation piece also. The way we use our body, our movement, our posture, our breathing directly impacts our emotional state. When we stand tall, when we breathe deeply, when we move with energy, your state instantly shifts. So we can shift our emotional and mental state just by moving our body. The second in this is focus. And we will talk more about this when we look at mental clarity. But what we choose to pay attention to expands, right? What's wrong is always there, but so is what's right. So if we focus on the problems, we'll feel stressed out. If we focus on the possibilities, we'll feel empowered. So, and we have a choice around what we focus on. And the third side of the triad is language. It's the words we use, both in our internal thoughts and also in the conversations that we have with ourselves and others. So we can actually shape our experience based on the words that we use. Just think about if I say, oh, I'm exhausted, how that feels in your body, as opposed to, I think I need a recharge. It creates two very different states. So these models, the triad and the neuroscience, is really a powerful reminder for us that we can change how we feel instantly in any moment just by adjusting and shifting our physical state, by shifting what we're focusing on and choosing more empowering language. And as I said earlier, the first part, the most important part is physiology. It is our physical well-being. If we shift that, everything else changes. So, Jason, I'm going to hand back to you.
Thanks, Leanne. And all that rich information and the neuroscience behind it and that triad model is impeccably important. And I want to focus on one thing before we bring on our guest expert. Let's think of the phone battery analogy. And people are probably thinking, what do you mean phone battery analogy? So think of it in that statement where Leanne talked about the recharge. Think of your brain like your phone. It's powerful, but it drains quickly because it's running so many applications in the background. If you don't recharge it with food, movement, the importance of sleep and recovery, it hits low power mode. And who likes their phone or their body to be on low power mode? Not me. I don't think you do either, Leanne, right?
Absolutely not.
Suddenly, things slow down. Your focus fades, your decision-making weakens, and you're more easily stressed, which, when you're stressed, raises the cortisol levels in your body, which we like those at a low and calm state. The right fuel and rest are your daily recharge. So put simply, if your body is underfueled, your brain is underpowered. Such a powerful statement. I'll say that again. If your body is underfueled, your brain is underpowered. As we welcome today's guest expert, PJ Stahl, Los Angeles-based kinesiologist, strength and conditioning specialist, take a moment to honor where you are at on your physical well-being journey. Every step counts, folks, and awareness is the first step forward. PJ is a Los Angeles-based gym owner and personal trainer who focuses on corrective exercise techniques to help clients recover and overcome chronic pain and imbalances. His clients include celebrities, professional athletes, and everyday people like you and I. He utilizes over 20 years of experience and extensive education in kinesiology and numerous national certifications to provide innovating and safe training and techniques for his clients. Earlier this week, Leanne and I had the pleasure of interviewing PJ, who shared valuable wisdom and practical tips on physical well-being. Unfortunately, while he isn't able to join us live today, we're honored to share our conversation with him during today's episode.
Yes, and I can't wait for you to hear the wisdom that comes out of this conversation.
So exciting.
Well, hello, PJ. Thank you for joining us on Let's Talk today. I'm super excited for our session.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Today we're going to do a deep dive into fueling energy as your foundation. And before we get into our kind of questions, I just want to give you the floor and ask, what is it that you want our listeners to know about you before we kind of dive into really picking your brain and your expertise?
Okay, great. I think it's important for people to know that my entire life has been based around fitness and around education. When I was a child, I was always involved in sports. I always had an interest in kind of the physical training behind sports and learning how that could amplify your performance. And moving into college, I got my undergraduate degree in kinesiology, graduate degree in business and athletic administration in higher education, and exercise physiology. Moved on to get 40 plus science-based certifications in personal training and strength and conditioning. And I ultimately knew from the time I would say probably 15, when I was really kind of exploring strength and conditioning in sports, that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to change people's lives. I really just wanted to be that support system, because I knew what it meant to me when my coaches would help me, when they would support me and guide me and be that accountability person to take me to the next level. And if I could do that for other people, I knew I was like living my truth and what I wanted to do in this world and make an impact.
Yeah. So I'm really hearing in what you've shared there, PJ, that, when you love what you do, it And Jason,
Yes.
I know that you've trained with PJ. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we dive in?
Now,
Yeah,
don't say
thank you,
anything
Leanne.
mean about what I do.
Oh, I won't, no.
Secrets. I want secrets.
Right? How tough everything is.
Yeah.
You're sweating.
The secrets of PJ's Fellow Fitness. Yeah, so I started training with PJ a couple years ago. I actually found him because there's another trainer and massage therapist who works out of his studio, and so I was going there for that, and I saw his card on the desk when I was walking out, and I was like, I'm on a new well-being journey, and so I need to at least have a conversation around personal training, because there's something, with that accountability, whether it's once a week, twice a week, where you're going and getting just amazing transformation, which PJ does throughout, a whole workout session. Not going to say it's not tough, but it's always for the best and for the better. And it was just, always amazing how well I feel like after I finished training with him. So I just feel like we're super lucky to have PJ as our guest expert this week on physical well-being, because he's going to add so much wisdom and flavor to today's conversation. So that's what I wanted to say, and I'll turn it over to you, Leanne, for our first question.
Thank you. But just before we go into that first question, there's something that you've both said that I think is super important to double click on. The role of having somebody champion you, stretch you, and hold you accountable. I think, and we're all coaches, different styles of coaches, but the three of us are coaches, right? And I know for a fact that that accountability piece and that ability to stretch somebody past where they think their comfort zone, like where the comfort zone ends and the real zone starts, that sounds super exciting. So I have my first question for you, PJ. Will you come to Sydney? No.
Oh, yes, please. We'll do training and then we'll do surfing and then we'll do
Yes, yes, and yes. I'll tick yes to
good.
all of those things. All right. Okay, so let's dive into some of the questions that we had. The first thing that I'm really interested to hear is, as you hear the phrase fueling energy as your foundation, I'm curious to know, what does that mean in terms of physical well-being to you, PJ?
Overall, fueling energy for your foundation means the energy comes from different parts of your life, right? Energy can come from specifically nutrition and affect your body physiologically. It can come from your overall mindset and feeling confident or feeling less stress, feeling the actual ability for you to walk into a gym and just feel comfortable. And then there's an entire section of just really making sure that the movements are done right so that your body can actually become successfully moving into an energetic form that can really perform at its best potential. So overall, I think kind of building a house from the ground up, it's set your foundation first on all those levels of energy so that you're successful. Because I think people sometimes are so quick to jump into this fad fitness of I saw a TikTok or an Instagram or a Facebook video that looked really cool and exciting, and I'm gonna go do that. And it can fade really fast. And that's what I'm here for. And that's what you just referenced is, as a coach, I'm here for accountability. I'm here for support. I'm here to help you on those little steps that create a strong foundation. And that's really what this topic is about.
Yeah. Thank you. And I really hear that. If we've got a good base, then we can leverage from that, right? But if we don't, we start, we burn out, we hurt ourselves, we give up, right? And that's not what we want. And if I can just click one step further, what about the mental and emotional state? Like, because I know that when I work out, I bounce off the walls afterwards. Like I can tackle anything. I feel good for the day. I'm on fire. So I'm curious. I think, Jason, I'm really curious to look at that. So I'll hand over to you for question number 2.
Yeah, and before diving into question 2, I can definitely say, having had PJ as a personal trainer, that accountability is amazing. It helps with personal confidence, when walking into a gym or places where people are like working out or exercising, to know, like I can do this too. Like, so that accountability piece is definitely an amazing foundation that only just builds and builds and builds. So as we merge into question 2, what role does fitness play, not just in physical energy, PJ, but in one's confidence, stress relief, and just overall well-being?
So building off of what I said before a little bit is physiologically, when you work out, your body builds and creates mitochondria. Mitochondria are like the brains inside of your cells, where they make everything work more efficiently. So the more you have, the better you feel, because your body knows what to do and how to do it. It works more efficiently, so it doesn't feel as hard. So overall, that energy boost is going to happen. With stress relief, every time we move, anything, it could be a walk outside, it could be a bike ride, you could go to the gym and hit a good, strong strength training workout, but you're going to have endorphins released. You're going to have dopamine, serotonin, which is going to help decrease stress and anxiety. And I can't emphasize that enough with our lifestyles today, and with work and just everything that people deal with that ability for you to just say, I could go on a walk for 10 to 20 minutes a day and have the ability to decrease stress and anxiety in your life is a big difference. And those little tiny things can add up over a week or a month when you create a sustainable plan. The other one is just general well-being. If you are creating a routine, that routine creates mental discipline. And when we feel disciplined, we feel better about ourselves. And I was actually thinking about it this week because I kind of did a big cleaning at my place and cleaned out closets and tubs and storage. And it, when you reorganize your life and you feel like there's structure and discipline, we feel good about ourselves and we feel confident. And I felt so happy on Monday, walking into the gym, feeling like I cleaned up my place. But it's the same way with fitness and with a routine in your life. The more that you do it, the more consistent you are, the better you feel. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. And, definitely I can say, as a testimonial that, I was one of those people that it's like when I went to the gym before I found you was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't even know if I'm using these machines right, if I'm doing the right order, etc. So like having that discipline and that structure was just so like life-changing for me in my own personal fitness and well-being journey, because I didn't have that before. But I really gained and have gained that through training with you. So with that, anything you want to say, PJ, before Leanne asks the next question?
Yeah, I really like that you said that. And one of my mottos is that I'm going to believe in you until you believe in yourself, because it's really tough sometimes. And like you said, just walking into a gym can be overwhelming, and not knowing a machine, let alone an exercise or how to use it right, or to not feel like you look stupid. And I know that, a lot of people have that feeling before they start exercise and training. And I am there for that reason. I'm there to make you feel comfortable. I'm there to make you feel safe. I'm there to help you make mistakes and laugh through it, because we all do, and it's okay. I make mistakes when I work out, like it's part of it, but being consistent and sticking through it can really change things. And that's what we ultimately want to get to is your confidence, your belief in yourself to do these things and be successful is where I want to help all my clients.
Yeah. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. After a workout, you feel good about yourself, but actually working out with somebody who's teaching you how to do it well, it does bring that strength and that confidence in your whole capacity, not just in the gym. That's transferable, right? Then to other areas of your life. So it's just like, oh, I feel good here, which means I feel good everywhere. So I love that. Excellent. And one of the things that you brought in there was a little bit of science, right? Like the brain and things like that. So my next question really refers to the brain, PJ, because I know that our brain uses a huge amount of our physical resources, right? At least 20% of the body's daily energy. So I'm wondering then, from that point, what does what we eat affect how we focus, how we make decisions, our mood, and our physical energy?
So when you think about fuel kind of energizing yourself or utilizing it, we really want to do nutrient delivery to sustain kind of your blood sugar levels. They want to be as stable as possible throughout the day, because the ups and downs crashes are when people will kind of binge or eat whatever's available, run to a vending machine and get a Monster Energy drink because you just need some caffeine. And your body is telling you, which it's very smart, because it's like, hey, guess what? You're slowly starting to deplete yourself of energy and you need something. So overall, stabilizing your blood sugar consistently or planning out your snacks, your nutrition really can help with mood stabilization, because I don't know about you, but I can get hangry. So, you don't want that to happen. But on top of it, like concentration, you referenced earlier, your brain utilizing energy and 20% during your day, because it needs to use an energy source to be able to perform and function during our day. And we don't want to lose that concentration or the ability to focus. Another thing that sometimes we don't think about or reference is omega-3 fatty acids overall improve neural communication, like the ability for your brain to actually function and utilize those neurotransmitters to their optimal level. So for you to be in full brain functioning capacity, to decrease the potential for depression or anxiety, getting omega-3 fatty acids is an essential thing in your diet. Another thing are just basic micronutrients like vitamins, magnesium, your minerals, utilizing those things through what I consider like a rainbow of a diet. So we typically say that like on your plate, if you don't have at least 5 different colors, then you're probably going to be a little bit deficient in your micronutrients, those small, tiny nutrients that come from different fruits and vegetables. And usually they're going to come from different colors. So it's a cool way to kind of give yourself a little bit of an easy way to identify what you're eating on your plate. And the more that you can put into a salad or a fruit salad or veggies on your sides, the better it'll be.
I love that rainbow. I could do rainbow. That works for me. So
Right.
at least
Easy.
5 colors. I hear that.
Uh-huh.
And that whole idea of omega-3 and that brain connectivity, so you don't get that brain fog in the middle of the day and those high and low spikes. I mean, that sounds super important. Yeah. Okay. So I've made a note. Vitamins, magnesium, omega-3, rainbow. That's what I've written down on my paper
right.
here.
Those are great.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, PJ. And definitely learned some stuff there myself. And so on this conversation around energy, fueling your body, eating habits, nutrition, etc. To take the nutrition question one step further, is what are a few simple nutrition habits? You kind of mentioned a couple in the answer to your last question that busy people can use to sustain energy throughout their day.
This is a great question because, like I said, with our lifestyles and work and family and any sort of activities you're trying to do outside of that, it can be really hard to kind of create a balanced plan. And the first thing is to make sure that you're getting all 3 of your nutrient bases in your meals or snacks. And you want to try to always have all 3. So you want to have a protein, you want to have a carb, and you want to have a fat. Outside of that, I always tell people add any sort of leafy or green vegetables as much as you want. And a good way to kind of measure it is to say, okay, for protein, if you take the palm of your hand, and you create the shape of the center of the palm of your hand, if you take your fingers off, that should be the size of the protein that you're eating for a full meal, not a snack. A snack would be half. And then for carbs, if you create a fist with your hand, the size from your wrist up is this portion of carbs. So if we think about, this is what I always say, if I think about when I order macaroni and cheese at a restaurant, how big that bowl is, I'm like, that is not the size. That is not the size of my fist. So that's like 4 times the size. So sometimes we can overeat with portions, but this is a great way to kind of reference it. But protein, center of the palm of your hand. Carbohydrates is the size of your fist. Fats is the size of your thumb. So if you think about like adding dressing onto a salad or avocado, think about typically about the size of your thumb is going to be healthy fats. And then your green leafy vegetables or any other green vegetables that you can add in that are very low in calories, high in fiber, you can have as much as you want. So that's usually how I tell people to really like balance out, and just checking things like when you're ordering from a menu, or if you're out to eat and you're not preparing something yourself, how you can divide things up to make sure you get the portions you need and maybe save things for additional meals if you want. That's the first one. I have a couple more. Another one is making sure that you're getting enough fiber. Fiber actually slows glucose release. So the more fiber that you have in your diet and in your body consistently, the slower that glucose or the blood sugar is released into your bloodstream. So when we talked about those crashes, those ups and downs, those feeling hangry moments, if you're increasing the amount of fiber throughout your day in your meals and snacks, you'll be able to help regulate that better. So that's like a huge one that I think people overlook a lot, but adding in high fibrous types of foods, typically in fruits and vegetables, are going to help provide you with that. Another one is going to be hydration. Hydration is a big one because even the smallest % of decrease in hydration can decrease your mental clarity, your alertness, and your body's overall function. So I typically tell people to either have a notepad on their desk, have a water bottle that has tracking on it with times. They sell these really cool ones that just say the time of the day, and you're supposed to drink through it, and you do it 2 times a day. It has a morning and an evening side to it. Those are great. They've been really successful with my clients.
Oh, I like that.
Right?
Because then I don't have to think about it, right? Like it's
Yes.
just there.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Jason, I just jumped in. Was there something that you wanted to
Oh
say
gosh,
there?
no worries. No, I was just gonna say, super helpful habits. I kind of feel like you gave us three kind of really easy to remember habits, along with kind of uh, physical symbols, that you can do with your body to remember, oh, yeah, like this is how much carbs I can eat. But then also to the one that you mentioned in the previous answer about the color of the rainbow. So I think you gave some easy ways for our guests to think about nutrition habits and how to put that into a more sustainable practice. Over to you, Leanne, for the next question.
Yeah, I really like this thing too because my hand comes with me everywhere. Like it's not an additional something that I have to think about. Like it's attached to me, so I can really click into that and remember that. Thank you. So, if I had to ask you, PJ, there's so many myths out there about all different things. So, what's one myth about nutrition and energy that you wish people would stop believing?
That carbs are the enemy. I feel like it's really easy for people to fall into the trap that eating carbohydrates are going to make them gain weight, become fat, become obese, that they aren't good for them. Our body functions on carbohydrates. Your brain functions on carbohydrates. Your body utilizes carbohydrates as the primary source to move and to work out. So if we don't have it, then we can't utilize it. So it's extremely important to have carbohydrates in your diet and to utilize them within your meals and snacks. But it's also important to have quality carbohydrates. So getting whole grains, fruits, vegetables, right? Yes. Um, limiting the processed carbs, chips, crackers, processed breads that aren't whole grain based, can really increase or spike your blood sugars. A lot of times increasing or adding that fiber into a meal that does have maybe a higher processed carbohydrate can help slow that down. But typically you want to have more natural fruits and vegetables and grains or oats that can provide that natural, sustainable energy source, because we want to function on a high level with our brain and with our body. And without carbs, we can't do that.
Well, you have just made my day because I've got a European background and I love carbs, and bread is my number one. I do eat dark bread. It's usually rye, it's usually full of seeds, it's usually stuff like that. But the thought of giving that up just, it doesn't work for me. So moderation is what I'm hearing. I've got my visual of that now. And yeah, that's great. Thank you. Oh, I'm
Yes.
excited. I carbs.
Yes. I have a European background as well, so yeah, definitely carbs is a part of the trajectory of what I consume. But on the bread front too, I definitely try to consume whole grain, seeds, darker breads to really minus out the white and processed types of foods.
Yeah, because I'm guessing the whites give you that sugar spike that you talked about earlier, which is like a high and then a crash, right? So having more of those natural grains sustains that over a longer period, so you're not getting the spikes. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, correct. So more of the processed foods, the more refined it is, the easier that your body absorbs it and brings it into the bloodstream. And when it does that, the quicker that it does it, the faster that your blood sugar levels go up. And then when they go up fast, your body's going to quickly go through it and it'll crash fast. So that's what gives us that kind of up and down. Something more unrefined or whole grain based is going to be utilized as a breakdown that's going to take longer and slowly work through your bloodstream to a more sustainable energy source.
Yes, well, you've made my day today. You can come back anytime, I've decided.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Jason, I'll hand back to you.
Yeah, so thank you, PJ, for guiding us through those questions that dealt with nutrition and fueling the body and the brain. Now we're going to move into a set of questions that deal with movement and around energy through activity. So our next question for you is, how do different types of workouts, i.e. strength training, cardio, flexibility, HIIT, impact energy levels and mental clarity?
Overall, they have very similar impacts, but there's kind of micro differences when you look at each of them. So if you look at strength training, it really helps you overall maintain muscle mass or build muscle mass. And when that happens, you're going to increase your resting metabolic rate. So your body's going to be burning calories more efficiently and utilizing the nutrients that you intake more efficiently so that you can perform or function at a higher level. So strength training is really providing your body with the muscle that it needs. Also, recent studies have shown that the more muscle mass you have, the longer your life expectancy is, which has been so important for me in the strength and conditioning world. But I'm really happy that it's just showing improving people that maybe don't work out or are just getting into it, how important it is, and that it can truly affect your overall life and life expectancy, which is great.
Can I just jump in with something there? Because I know that for women especially, we don't do a lot of strength training necessarily. And I know that's one area that can really be impacted at different stages of life, right? So the importance of strength training for us, I know is, well, I'm assuming, and I've been told by others, and my GP is always asking me, are you doing the resistance work and strength training? And I'm like, oh, not as much as I probably should. So thank you for bringing that in.
It is. It's extremely important. And it's important because our bodies can naturally decrease in our overall percent of muscle mass as we age. Every 10 years, decrease by at least 5%. That's natural. So as your body's naturally decreasing, if we can do anything like strength training or overall some type of general fitness to maintain the muscle mass we have, even if we aren't gaining extra, if we're just maintaining, it's going to continue to give you a benefit with mobility, with functionality, and life longevity, which is great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that.
So do you want me to move into cardio next and give a little?
Yes, please. I'm just processing strength training and how I can do more, but yes, please go into cardio.
So with cardio is anything that's going to pretty much challenge your body to utilize oxygen. And how can we do that? In a few different ways. I know we mentioned HIIT, which I'll reference in a little bit, but usually like sustained cardio is the primary way to get cardiovascular fitness, which is going to be maintaining the same type of movement and the same type of energy output for a consistent amount of time. So let's say for cardio, ideally, if you could do 20 minutes where you feel breathy, but not breathless, and sustain that, you're going to get great cardiovascular benefits. And I'll repeat it one more time. If you feel breathy, but not breathless, so you can continue to go and you feel like you have to like deep breaths in your nose and out your mouth to be able to sustain it because you have to use that oxygen as an energy source, but you can sustain it for 20 minutes and continue to move, you're going to get cardiovascular benefits. And getting those benefits will improve, like I was kind of saying before, with the mitochondria, or the ability for your body to utilize within the cell the oxygen and deliver it to be able to continue to work out or to function within fitness or general fun activities, going bowling with your friends or your family, right? Like those types of things can all benefit from just simple cardio.
Breathy, not breathless. I like it.
Now, if I'm going to talk about HIIT training, which is high intensity interval training, that is breathless. Like we are talking, I I would say as a fitness professional that I'm going to give a statistic that's only based on me training, not based on real science, but I would say that 99% of the people that claim that I have met that claim to be training HIIT training do not do it correctly and do not get the benefits, because high intensity interval training means that you must get above 90% of your max heart rate during the training. That is extremely difficult for people that, I mean, it is intense. I love working out and that is hard.
That sounds awful to me, I have to say.
About HIIT is that it's super short. So if you can push that hard and be that intense for just a short amount of time, a great example of that is the Tabata training protocol, the time training protocol, where you do 20 seconds of work and 10 seconds of rest, 8 rounds through, which comes out to 4 minutes. That's only 4 minutes of work. But if you work 20 seconds trying to hit 90% of your heart rate max, and then 10 seconds of recovery, 10 seconds of recovery, that is really fast. And then go back into it 8 times for 4 minutes, you can get anaerobic and aerobic benefits. So you're getting oxygen delivery and non-oxygen delivery cardiovascular benefits, which is extremely important. And it's gives you huge benefits, but it's very, very difficult. And I typically tell people if they're going to do HIIT type training or claim to be wanting the benefits of HIIT training, to definitely work with a coach or a trainer or going to fitness classes that'll push you to that level. It usually takes, and not for everyone, but for a lot of people, it takes kind of the community of the coach to get you to push to that level. Even for myself, I can't lie. It's difficult.
20 seconds sounds doable, right? So I can appreciate the benefit of that, is my thinking. Anyway, thank you.
Definitely.
Awesome. So do we want to move on to the next question, Leanne?
Sure. So, we've talked about these different styles of training already. And my question is around, for somebody starting out, right? Like a novice, okay, I haven't really done much. What's the best way to ease into regular workouts without that burnout thing that we talked about at the beginning, right? So they don't start strong and then fall down. But what's the easiest way to invest their time to ease in so they can sustain it over the long period?
The first thing that I do is we do like a little sit down interview and talk about what the client likes to do. Do they like to go for walks? Do they like to go bowling, like I referenced before? Do they have activities? I know there's like axe throwing here that a lot of people like to do. There's different activities that don't have to be going to the gym. And that's usually where I start, because if I can find something that someone thinks is fun, that's an activity that they would incorporate into their life naturally, if we can just put consistency to that, then now we have a routine. So I usually tell people to start with 2 days a week, 20 minutes a session. That's only 40 minutes a week of some type of physical fitness or training. The easiest way to do it is simply adding in a walk. So if people can't do the activity maybe that they chose, if it's swimming or biking, the easiest way to make sure you're maintaining and getting in that consistency to start is to go for a walk. And I usually get the comments of, oh my gosh, I didn't know my neighborhood was so beautiful.
Yeah, and I can really speak to that because I started a 100-day challenge. It's taken a bit longer than 100 days because I rolled my ankle. There's been things that along the way, but I've maintained my consistency with the walking. And not only did my body feel better and stronger, my mind was clearer. But the beauty, you speak to the beauty. Like I was taking photos of flowers and just stunning things that you just don't even notice, right? And that also affects your mood. So I really like that. And 2 days a week, 20 minutes, I think that's a doable way. For me, it's dancing, right? If I can get into any kind of dancing, you put on the music, I'm in, right? And I can do that for 20 minutes, no problems. So I love
Oh.
that the starting point is enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move it from there. That's really
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. And I think too, even something that I think like to walk to my Starbucks in my neighborhood, it's about 10 minutes each way. So it's like, oh, well, there's one walk for the day already in. So, even if you couple it with something like an errand or that need to go have a Starbucks or whatever, you're kind of accomplishing kind of that two birds with one stone.
Habit
Exactly.
stacking. Habit stacking is what I'm hearing there. Put it onto something
Exactly.
you already
Exactly.
do. Yeah. Nice.
Awesome. So, our next question, PJ, is really focused around people who sit throughout their day or who have a job where they sit a lot. What are some quick micro habits that can be that these type of people can build into their routine to avoid fatigue?
One of the main things that I see around typical desk workers is posture and consistent or long-term sitting or being at a desk or on the phone. You know that if you don't challenge your body to change position, it can start to adapt to that position. And that's when you start getting rounded shoulders or you'll start getting back pain, hip tightness. It's because when you're seated, your hips are flexed and the front of your hips, just below your hip bone, your hip flexors, there's also a psoas, which is a muscle that's deep inside of your spine that attaches to your hip bone. And if those start kind of bending forward and crunching in, the ability to stand up straight and extend through your lower back starts to decrease. And when the lower back starts to decrease, then usually it works its way up the spine and then it turns into the upper back, the shoulders. So to combat that, I usually say to set a timer on your phone or on your computer, and every hour, if you can, get up and try to do a quick, 3 to 5 minute walk. Anything, walking to around the office, walk to the drinking fountain to refill your water bottle that you've been checking off every hour, right, Leanne?
I like it. I like it.
Or just even walking to the restroom, anything to give yourself a break, walk outside quick. Something that's nice, quick, but to get your body to extend and stand in an upright posture. Another really good thing to do because you're seated is to stretch your hips. I'm sitting in a chair right now, but you can, if you take your foot and you cross your ankle over your knee, and then you take your hand on your knee and you kind of push your knee down a little bit, it stretches that hip socket. Your hip is a ball socket, so it moves like this. So if we can actually move that socket around while you're in a seated position, you don't even have to be standing. You're going to increase the movement of the synovial fluid, which is the fluid that lubricates your joints, and that will maintain and keep that joint healthy. And how many times have we heard, grandma fell and broke her hip? Well, that hip strength and that hip mobility is super important. So just a little tiny small hip stretch while you're seated in your chair, you don't even have to get out of the chair, is a really easy way to do that.
So you say to cross
Yeah.
your ankle over your knee,
But
and
don't
then
cross it, and keep your leg out extended wide, your knee out wide,
and then push down.
and then push down on it lightly. And if you want to grab your ankle with your other hand and kind of pull your ankle in towards your body as you push your knee down. Do you feel that light?
Oh, yes, I feel that a lot.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah, it's such a good way just to add a quick little hip opener stretch. It also will get some of the muscles of the hamstring, the thigh, and the outer edge of the hip.
Yeah, because I really felt that around the outside, right? And through my buttocks almost. So I'm supposing that's that whole area. So, okay, that I can do because I sit a
Yes.
lot, unfortunately.
Yes, I do
this is
too.
the sign of our times in front of our PCs or computers.
And I would say one other little tip that I have is if you can take, now I know sometimes we're working at our computers and we can't get away because we need the information on the computer. But if you can take a phone call and walk, it would be great. If you have your little earbuds or anything, even if you're holding your phone. But if you can walk while you're on a conference call or a meeting that's maybe relatively short, or you don't need a screen in front of you, that is a great way to get in steps, to get your body moving, to get up from your desk. Just give yourself some healthier habits at the office.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's a great idea. So you're kind of running a trail in your carpet. You're going to have like track marks from this.
Exactly.
I love it.
Awesome. Thank you for those really actually helpful micro habits, that are quick and easy. And that's the thing, is like easy to remember, digestible. So with that, Leanne, do you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, I do. But it just kind of made me think, even if we do need our screens, 90% of what we need is also on our phone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, do we actually have to sit at the computer, or can we check that email and look at as we're walking and, doing that sort of stuff? So just these little mind shifts can make all the difference, is what I'm hearing in this, PJ. Thank you. So my next question, go on.
I actually have a client that will send me a selfie while he's walking through his hallways in his office building with his earbuds in, saying I'm in a meeting. It's so because he's like, you'd be so proud I'm getting my steps in. And it makes me feel so good because he's taking the steps to do the challenges and do small daily things. And he said he now, no matter what, he will mark on his calendar walking meetings, the ones that he can do while he walks. And it's built into his day. And it's really been successful for him and for other clients. But it's definitely a fun way to kind of add some sort of movement back into desk life.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I remember years ago, one of those big exercise balls, I used to use that as my seat. And that was also interesting because you'd kind of have to balance. So it was using different muscles. So those little things that we can do can pack a big punch, is what I'm hearing there. And all right, I'm going to start taking selfies of myself, PJ, and sending them to you going,
Perfect.
The next question kind of leads on from this. Is there a minimum effect dose, compared to or in relation to the movement that we need to do that makes a difference? Like, some of the things that I'm hearing you say here is just 5 minutes or 20 minutes, so what's the minimum that we actually can do in order to make a difference in our bodies for those busy people who may not have 2 hours to go to the gym and train?
Mm-hmm. So when you start, I still recommend 20 minutes a day, 2 days a week.
Yep.
Now, to get the full health benefits of activity, WHO actually recommends that you get about 150 minutes per week of low intensity, which comes out to about 21 minutes a day. So 21 minutes of just those, brisk walks up and down the hall, that conference call, that walk to Starbucks. I mean, one time a day, 20 minutes, but that is 7 days a week. If it's more vigorous or a little bit more intense, so if you actually, maybe go to a gym, do a bike ride, swimming, some sort of physical activity that requires a little more exertion where you're going to increase your body temperature and sweat, then that goes down to 75 minutes. So it cuts it in half. And that's only about 10 minutes a day. So you really can be efficient in this kind of overall adaptation of utilizing fitness. But I know that, when you say 150 minutes a week, that can sometimes sound overwhelming, but 20 minutes a day and a walk to Starbucks can sound a lot easier, and that'll kind of fulfill that overall, the health benefits. And that's really where we want to get to at some point.
So long as you're not having a triple cream macchiato with all the at Starbucks, because I'm sure that would take away from some of those benefits. So you've got to kind of balance that out. Jason, just say.
I know, right?
Dude, that's funny. But okay, so if we're building a sweat 10 minutes a day as a minimum, and if it's low impact 20 minutes a day, and that's good enough to actually have benefits to our health, I think that's really wonderful to know. And then if we can do more than that, or we can build on that, that's only going to be better. Awesome. I like you. Again, come back, come back.
Anytime.
So the next
So,
question, oh, sorry, I was just going to say
oh,
the next question I'll hand over to you, Jason.
All
oh,
right.
thank you, Leanne. So our next question, PJ, is around consistency compared to intensity. So how important is consistency compared to intensity when it comes to physical fitness and energy?
This is, I think we referenced it a little bit earlier, or I did in one of my answers, but consistency is so much more important than intensity. And intensity typically leads to burnout and injury over and over and over again. And a lot of times, I'm a corrective exercise specialist. So I typically take on clients that have some sort of an injury, some sort of an ailment, or some sort of an issue with their body that they're trying to fix. And not only fix that, but then become healthy or gain kind of the confidence or the body that they're aesthetically looking for. But initially we usually have to do kind of a fix it up program. And that usually comes from intensity prioritized when they tried to do another fitness program. And it's tough because it's really easy to get caught up in the excitement of intensity and how much fun it can be. But the long-term effective benefits need to be built from that foundation, from what we said in the first question of the day today is start off slow, start off consistent, and build your foundation. Because if you start, throwing in 5 strength training days a week from nothing, you're going to be so sore. And you talk about getting up and down off a toilet, that will be the most painful thing of your day. And we don't want that. We want you to feel success. We want you to feel like you want to come back to the gym the next day. And really focusing on that lower intensity consistency from the start is extremely important. And doing something fun, like we talked about earlier as well. So starting off with something that you enjoy or have an accountability of enjoyment, whether it's like with a trainer or a coach, and then doing something that you can consistently do with moderate intensity to start, because that's going to be sustainable. I mean, I've been training, I don't even know. I started T-ball when I was 4 years old. So I'm 43. So what, 39 years of fitness in my life right now. And I think it's because I never wanted to do anything too extreme. Some of my personal training friends think it's funny because I like lifting and I like working out, but I'm not here to show you that I have the strongest back squat, and I'm not here to post about my bench press, and I'm not here to to outdo or outshine anyone at the gym. I'm here because I want to have fun. I want to do something that makes me feel good. And I want to be back tomorrow and do the same thing. And that's really been my personal motto for training, and trying to make sure that I'm instilling that in my clients.
So this idea of no pain, no gain isn't necessarily ideal in the beginning.
No, not at all. Yeah. I mean, pain means I'm going to cancel on my trainer tomorrow.
Yes, and I'm sure we've all done that at some point.
Exactly. Oh gosh. But consistency wins in the consistency versus intensity challenge. Definitely 100% of the time.
Okay.
Good question.
Awesome.
So what advice would you give people then who struggle to find that initial motivation to exercise?
The best thing to do is trying to build in fitness or activity, just an active lifestyle, into your personal identity. So can you bring activities too? And I don't always like to call it fitness. I do like to say activities because I really do like bowling, and maybe it's my Midwest like we always bowled growing up and I just love it. But for me, that's considered an activity that I like, and it's easy to kind of form that as part of my identity as one of my activities that I could do with my friends. that I can count as physical activity, and I can make it into kind of a lifestyle outside of just saying I go to the gym. Going to the beach. Luckily, we're here in California and Los Angeles, so we can go hiking, we can go to the beach, we have a lot of outdoor options. But when I did live in Michigan and in Chicago, I would go on walks outside, and I would do it in the winter. Just watch out for that black ice so you don't slip. But definitely creating some sort of identity within your lifestyle that starts to become a habit that creates the overall arching fitness lifestyle is really going to help with motivation, and telling yourself that. Specifically say, like, I am someone who moves daily. Start creating that mantra in your mind and in your life, because it will happen. Outside of that, continuing to always, I'm going to say it again because I've said it all day, but start small. 2 times a week, 20 minutes a day, so it's not overwhelming. And the last one is accountability. If you can get a friend, a workout partner, a coach, your partner in your life, or your kids, taking your kids to go do activities, anything like that that will help inspire you as well, and hold you accountable, will definitely help for motivation for people that are struggling with it.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you've brought in identity, because once something is part of our identity, it is just who I am. It's not something I do anymore, right? Like, it actually becomes an internal part. And I really like the idea of this, bringing in your accountability friends. Like, you can actually kill two birds with one stone, so to speak, because you're also doing the activity, whatever it is that you enjoy, and you've got that social connection, which is also really important to our overall well-being. So I love the fact that we can blend those two things together.
Exactly. Yes.
Awesome.
And it's really fun to watch your friends that like don't bowl or don't do activities come and do it, because we all just have such a good time. Like, I feel like the laughter that comes from that is like the serotonin and dopamine just from hanging out with friends and having a good time, and being able to laugh at yourself is is so important.
Yes. Oh dear.
Wonderful. So that concludes our questions around movement and activity. And now we're going to move into a couple questions around sleep and recovery. So our first question to you, PJ, is how important is sleep for energy, recovery, and overall performance?
So sleep is probably the number one underutilized way to be successful in fitness and get results. To me, it is the number one, because I'll tell clients if they don't get enough sleep, it's the only cancellation policy that I allow that I won't charge someone, because it's so critical. Your body, your hormone regulation happens when you sleep. Your muscle recovery happens when you sleep. Your body burns fat calories when you sleep. And your body is in full recovery mode when you're sleeping. And if you aren't getting typically between 7 to 9 hours, I mean, 7 is still cutting it a little short, but that 8-hour rule that we've learned, or at least that I've learned my entire life, is technically true. 7 to 9 hours is extremely important, because it also is going to help regulate your cortisol levels and your insulin levels. As soon as you start cutting those hours short, it's going to start having those effects on your body, which physiologically will start making changes to your energy. And then it's going to start affecting your brain, your cognitive function, and your overall physical function. And, for people that aren't getting enough sleep, not only are you not successful in your basic body functions, but now if you add on physical activity or training where your body has to actually now recover, it isn't just functioning. If your muscles are breaking down from strength training, or you're doing cardio and you've really pushed yourself, your body isn't just sustaining, it's recovering, and your body needs that rest. It's so extremely important. And a lot of people can lead to potential injury or improper utilization of nutrients and calories to get the results they want when they cut sleep short.
Yeah. To me, sleep is one of the number one things that we take for granted, and we don't give it the honor it deserves, right? Because you've talked about it from a physiological point of view, but then our moods, our emotional reactivity, you know, all of these things get impacted if we're not having enough sleep. So I love that that's your number one. So beyond sleep or other than sleep, then what else do you recommend for people um, to recover? You know, if they're under constant states of stress, or if they want to keep their energy levels balanced. Is there anything else? Sleep aside, like sleep's number one, I get it, but what else?
So basic like levels of stretching, mobility, foam rolling. I think it's great that now most people know what foam rolling is. Whether or not they've done it, they at least kind of see like, oh, like there's one of those rolls in the gym. I've seen people rolling out on that.
Is that one of those long sausage things that you roll?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, I've seen one of them too.
So, but those, what they do is when you roll your body on it, like if you roll your thighs, or even if you kind of sit on it and roll your hamstrings or your glutes, it increases circulation. So it's kind of like self-massage. So it's like massaging the muscles and moving the blood within your body and increasing circulation, increasing recovery. If you have broken down proteins, so like when you train, like your muscle cells start to break and then little particles come off of the muscle cells before they all regenerate and reheal stronger. And those little tiny pieces are what cause pain, because the neuroreceptors in your muscle are like, oh my gosh, you're hurt. Like your body needs to heal. That's your body teaching you and telling you that something's wrong. But the cool thing is that you did it to yourself because you trained. But it's so that you can get stronger, but it's telling you that you need to recover. And doing like a light walk or a light bike for 10 to 20 minutes increases circulation, because it's going to increase your cardiovascular fitness. So your body's breathing, increasing heart rate and increasing blood flow. So that will help utilize the pulling out of those broken down proteins and recovery. And also any sort of like yoga movements, breath work, or foam rolling and stretching will really help with recovery. And it's extremely important for blood flow. Like blood flow is such an important thing for recovery, and trying to incorporate that. When I was training professional athletes, when I first moved to Los Angeles, 2 days a week, every Wednesday and every Saturday, we had a 20-minute cardio flush is what we called it. And it was helped to flush out all of the potential different edema or swelling that's happening inside of the muscle cells, and to help increase blood flow of nutrient-rich blood so that you can actually heal faster.
I got stuck on roll equals massage.
Yes.
No, not really. I'm like, massage. Did you say massage? But I really love that yoga, breath work, getting that blood flow, but being able to do that for yourself on a muscle roll. They sound pretty easy to do. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I actually have one of those here at home, and when I do use it, it's like, oh, okay, I need to use this more. I don't know why I don't, but it's one of those things where it sits in a corner, and then I see it every now and then. I was like, oh, I need to take that out. So thank you for bringing it back into my awareness, PJ.
Yes, I actually keep, I think I've told you this, Jason, but I keep a foam roller. I keep a trigger point ball. So it's kind of like a little, like a lacrosse ball, really. So it's kind of a firm size of a tennis ball. And then a massage gun, they kind of like vibrate.
Vibrating,
And
yep.
I keep all of those in my living room under like the coffee table, so that when I'm watching TV, I actually will get out the massage my shoulders, my chest, my arms. I'll sit down on the floor and foam roll or trigger point. But I had to create it into a habit. I had to create it into it because I had it in the closet, and I think it sat there for 2 years. And I'm a trainer, and I know I'm supposed to use it.
So do as I say, not as I do.
I do.
But I like the idea of doing that while you're watching television, or, like if you, again, habit stacking, put it on top of something that you do often. which
Yes.
helps us to build new habits, which is great.
Yeah.
But now I keep it there, and it's doable, and I actually utilize it and do it.
Awesome. So, PJ, we're going to move into our last three questions. And this
Okay.
next question has to do with hydration. I know you spoke quite a bit about hydration a little bit earlier. Is there anything additional that you want to say about hydration and the role that it plays in sustaining an individual's daily energy, and how much of it do we need?
So overall, typically for men and women, we need about 2 to 3 liters per day is what the recommendation is. Now that increases if you're in heat. So if you're sweating, like, I mean, I remember when I was in Arizona coaching out there, I mean, we had to double and almost triple our water intake because it was so hot being out on the turf working with the athletes. But typically 2 to 3 liters a day for general activity, and then increase that based on your overall physical activity or the heat levels that you're in the climate that you're at. But 2% of dehydration, like only being dehydrated by 2% can decrease cognitive function and performance. 2%, that's small. And it's so easy to become dehydrated. One of my coaches growing up used to say, if you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated, because it's actually your body telling you that you need fluid, you need water. And if it's already telling you you need it, then you probably don't have enough. So I think most people live in a constant state of dehydration, which, you know, to me is really tough, because think of the overall brain function and body functions that we could have, that cognitive ability that we could increase just by drinking more water. So those are kind of my two kind of insights on hydration that we haven't talked about, is 2 to 3 liters of water a day as a base level, and only 2% of dehydration can have very big cognitive and performance decreases.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's just so important. I didn't realize about the 2% rules. So definitely something I'm going to be much more cognitively aware of.
Yeah. I think it reduces your IQ by about 20 or 30% from memory. Like it's quite a significant impact on the brain, and I'll get the stats on that when we further down. If I could just ask, is water good enough, or should we be having, you know, like the hydrolytes or the something else? Because we talk about rehydration or dehydration, and I'm just wondering, because I drink a lot of water and I squeeze some lemon juice or some orange or something like that into it, just to add a little bit of flavor. But are we better off having, you know, one of these Gatorade kind of things, or is water really what we need?
So I typically would say that water is number one, always. Like, drink your water. If I love that you add lemon juice or natural, if people want to put fruit inside of their water. I've seen people with watermelon, and the other day someone had watermelon and mint leaves and cucumber. Oh my gosh. I was like, can I please taste your water? I literally drank. It was so good. But I don't always add the natural kind of fruits or things into the water, but it's such an easy way to make it more flavorful. But when it comes to kind of electrolytes or electrolyte-based drinks, it's really easy to get a lot of sugar from those. So the first thing I would say is, if you can do an electrolyte tablet or powder, they have great options that have 0 sugar. They just have the electrolytes, and they do have flavors. So like a natural flavor profile. Those are always great to add in. Typically, if you're doing any sort of physical activity or hitting the baseline of physical activity, where we talked about the 20 minutes per day, 7 days a week, you're going to want to increase your hydration levels with some type of electrolytes. But outside of that, general activity time, you can have the electrolytes, but outside of that, I would just stick with your general water and really try to avoid the high sugar I don't know if it's called regular flavors, rather than the zero flavors of the Gatorade, the Powerade, those options. They do have zeros, which are zero sugar added, and zero sugar in it. So those are better options. If you're going to go for that, grab it. I've done that before too. Like when I'm on a hike or I've finished an activity and I don't have anything to drink and I feel like I need electrolytes, I'll grab a Powerade Zero and make sure I drink that so I'm getting electrolytes back.
Okay. So water generally, and maybe a electrolyte when you're actually exercising or just after. Got it.
Yeah.
That's good to know, because you know, there's so much that comes at you and you're not ever really sure, like, what should I actually do? You know, too much water can flood you. No, it's good for you. It's like, it's all too much, all too much. So I just wanted to ask, my next question's really about practical tips. So if you could kind of walk away today and give people your top 3 tips, you know, to improve one's physical well-being, what would you say is their top 3 for starting point?
Like you said,
I know
there's so
there's
many.
I know there's 750 of them, but
Top 3 things. I would say number 1, consistent sleep. And I don't think I would have said that, you know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, but with all of the science behind recovery and how important it is, I would say sleep is number 1. Have a consistent, if you can, consistent time that you wake up or you go to bed, and try to get those 7 to 9 hours, because if your body isn't recovering, it's not going to function at its potential. And if we're going to try to push your body to become better when it's already underutilized or under rest or under recovered, you're only going to compound those issues or those problems. So sleep, number 1, get enough sleep every single night. The second thing I would say is to try to move daily. If you can do any type of movement for those 20 minutes a day, every day, walks outside, activities with friends, you know, getting to the gym if that's part of your lifestyle, and doing a training routine maybe 2 days a week, but some sort of activity every single day just to keep your body moving and keep it healthy and strong, would be number 2. And number 3 is a balanced whole food diet, like we talked about, with the protein, the carbs, the fats, and make your plate look like a rainbow. Get your micronutrients, definitely. But with those,
that's going to be my new thing. Like,
yeah, those 3, I think, and I think those are doable. I think, you know, those don't feel overwhelming, and I hope they don't. They shouldn't. You know, sleep, move, and eat, right? We can do that every day.
Absolutely.
That's all we do, isn't it? Love that. So sleep well, eat, exercise consistently, 20 minutes a day, 7 days a week, and think about your balanced diet when it's protein, carbs, and fat. I'm onto that. That's ingrained now.
Yes, good.
All right. So we have come to our final question, PJ. And, you know, Leanne and I just both want to thank you for this incredible conversation that we've had with you today, and just all the amazing digestible tips that you've given us and easy ways to think about them. And just, you know, the positive energy that you bring to what you do, your craft, and how it's just fully embodied within you. So we want to thank you. Yeah. And to close on our last question, if you could leave our listeners with one message about building energy as the foundation for physical well-being, what would that be?
One key message I would say is that no time is going to feel perfect to start a training program, to start changing your lifestyle, because we already have our habits, we have our life, we have our schedule. So no matter what, it's going to feel like a change, and it might feel tough. but creating this energy in your life is not worth waiting for. Start doing something small today, tomorrow, 20 minutes, go for that walk. Do something for yourself. It's that important. And we create that through consistency and really make it fun. Find something that you like and friends that you like to do it with, and do it.
Yeah, I love that.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, PJ. It's an absolute privilege to have shared this time with you today. I can't wait to see you in Sydney at some point. I look forward to it. Yeah, and on behalf of Jason, myself, and our listeners, really thank you for the wisdom, the knowledge, your passion about overall well-being. I can just see the desire to impart that knowledge and wisdom. And you said right at the beginning that education is your sweet spot. And I really thank you for educating us all today. Thanks.
Well,
Absolutely.
thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And this was great. If I can help, just one person through this, and I know it's going to affect a lot of people, all the listeners, which will be great. But that's my passion, and that's why I'm here. So thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to reach more people and help more people.
Welcome.
And I know that podcasting is a sweet spot for you. So I think we will see you back here again at some time.
I hope so. Bring me back. I'll definitely.
Wonderful. I'll stop the share. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, PJ.
Thank you.
Well, how good was that?
Oh.
Yes, we hope that you all found some interesting and helpful tips from PJ in our conversation with him.
Yeah, it's such an interesting conversation when you talk to somebody and you break it down to those micro habits that has such a profound impact on our overall well-being. But specifically, this physical well-being that is the foundation, right, for fueling energy. It's incredible. So, Jason, we're towards the end of our session today, and we promise our listeners top tips. So let me share my screen so we can look at top tips for today. Don't you love technology? So feel free to chat amongst yourselves.
Oh. The anticipation.
The anticipation. Here we go. Hopefully that's sharing. So, PJ gave us some fantastic top tips today, and his top 3 were the importance of sleep, not just for your physical activity, but for your emotional activity, for your mental activity. And that 7 to 9 hour sweet spot for the majority of people is what we should be aiming to achieve. Stop wearing sleep deprivation as a badge of honor and actually honor yourself with sleep so you can recover in all areas. Number 2, consistency. That was a big theme throughout his conversation today. And the consistency of even just starting with 2 workouts a week or 2 walks even, for 20 minutes each, and then build on that. But that consistency of movement. The one that really stands out for me around this, Jason, personally, is the walking, talking. Like the getting up when I'm on the phone and actually carving a path in my carpet just to get your step count out, but consistently doing that. That really stood out. And the third one from PJ was this whole idea about that balanced whole food diet. Having the plate of rainbow, so at least 5 different colors on your plate, but as many colors as possible and as much as possible. And the other one, when we talk about our protein size, our carb size, and our fat size. And I love that because our hand comes with us everywhere we go. So you can't really forget the size or the portions that we're supposed to have. And what isn't on this slide, but I think is so important, is hydration. as part of this whole food fueling your body. Eat well and hydrate well, because the more we do that, the more energy we have for everything else. So they're the top tips from this week.
Thank you, Leanne. Okay, so next we're going to find out about next week's episode. And Leanne's going to bring it up here on screen, which will be our second dimension of well-being. Emotional well-being. So episode 3 will be on emotional well-being, and we'll talk about resilience in action, navigating stress and emotion. And so next week's conversation is going to be between Leanne and I. We're going to have a robust conversation around emotional well-being. What does resilience look like? Key ways of navigating stress and emotions so that you can be in a healthy emotional well-being state. We'll have some great top tips for you, like we just shared from today's episode, maybe a book recommendation or two there that might come in. And yeah, so we're looking forward next Wednesday here in Los Angeles at 3:30 Pacific time, and Thursday, October 16th, Sydney at 9:30 a.m. Australia Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this conversation as well, because our emotions really drive our life.
Absolutely.
And the more we can learn to harness that, as opposed to being harnessed by it, the better, really. So I'm very much looking forward to that conversation.
Yep, because emotions are part of the whole spectrum of our life, from personal, professional, every entity of where we're at and showing up in life. So super excited for that conversation with Leanne next week. So we've come to the end of today's episode. Thanks for joining us for today's conversation on physical well-being, fueling energy as your foundation. And thank you again to our guest expert, PJ Stahl, Los Angeles-based kinesiologist and strengths-based specialist. And we're just incredibly lucky to have had him today, and the rich conversation. And hopefully all of you got some amazing tips and tricks from PJ and through the questions that we asked him.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So as usual, we hoped that we've sparked something new, whether it's a new habit that you're going to build now, a new insight, a fresh perspective, or even just a question that you now have that's worth exploring further.
Our mission at Let's Talk is always simple: to have the conversations that matter and to remind you, you don't have to do and figure out this thing called life on your own. We are here to help and to be your friend alongside through our conversations between Leanne and I and with our guest experts.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend, subscribe, like it, and keep the conversation going with us together. Because when we talk,
we really talk.
We really, really talk. And then anything is possible.
So let's talk with real conversations
and limitless possibilities. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.
Have a great day. We'll see you next week.